What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we got Tommy of the almighty Kamelot. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here. So, for the time being right now, you're releasing this new live album, Eye in the Empire, live from the 013, which is coming out August 14th. Is there a specific reason why you chose this gig in particular to make a live album off of it?
Yeah, we played this venue a couple of times, and it's really like one of our favorite venues because we were one of the first bands that played it when they kind of opened it after refurbishing it. So they opened up for more people to be able to see bands there, which that was really cool. And then it's just a great venue. It's like all venues in the Netherlands are really clean and really well put together in terms of equipment and just new and fresh, Yeah. So that was one thing, but then I've been recording a live DVD there with Arion before, and so I knew it was a great location to also film in.
Yeah, it's not like CBGB's over there, right?
No, right. It's really legit place, and then also Netherlands has also been a great place for Kamelot historically, where we had 10, 11, 12 sold out shows in a row in Holland. So that's also one of the main reasons that we picked that place. Also, in addition to that, it's really close to a super big airport, Schiphol, so that it's easy to give people a chance to travel there easily, and that was also one of the big reasons.
Oh wow, that's good to know if I'm ever going to a show at the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, like, with this particular gig, obviously having Lauren Hart from Once Human, as she's done the whole Shadow Theory tour with you, but also having Charlotte from Delane and Alyssa from Arch Enemy, did working with all those vocalists and performing them also maybe teach you new things, or really just teach new things for Kamelot in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool that we managed to have all these people there for the DVD that actually sang on the albums. It gives it a color, and it gives it a certain, feeling of a big celebration in a way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and being that the Shadow Theory was loved by so many, this really was like the ultimate experience to hear this material live and really be one with the band, I feel.
Yeah, I mean it's always been very much an interactive thing to go to a Kamelot show. I think we've been working hard to make that so that the people go there and get something. It's a meaningful exchange of energy, if you may, and I think that's one of the key things when it comes to Kamelot, that people know it's going to be, it's going to be a really fun time. It's going to be a lot of interaction. It's going to be something to bring home from that night emotionally. Which I think is it's not always like that with bands. Some bands don't have that, but that's important to us, and making sure that people feel that connection with the band on stage.
Yeah, it's so funny because the first time I ever saw you with Kamelot was at the show the tour you did with Dragon Force back in 2015, and you were playing the Marlin Room at Webster Hall, and then seeing you at Irving Plaza, and then at PlayStation Theater. It almost seemed like between Haven alone and now, I was able to see the band grow so much.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, that was kind of like I've loved playing New York City, by the way, every time. Doesn't matter what the venue is, but the last time in the PlayStation Theater, also knowing that the theater was going to shut down, was just it was a pinnacle moment in a way.
Yeah.
to kind of wow, this is cool, to be right there at Times Square and everything.
Yeah.
That's just like a little kid's dream.
And being that Sabaton was the last metal band to play there, a lot of people were saying that the Tank should have just been real and just demolished the venue for the one final nail in the coffin.
Right.
Yeah. Now, if you don't mind me asking, could this live album also maybe serve as maybe a good way to hold fans over while we wait for a follow-up to the Shadow Theory?
Totally. I mean, it really played out really well for us because we didn't have a lot of things planned for this year. We, other than working on the new album that's going to be due next year. But so for us to be able to give this, give the people and the fans of Kamelot this experience now in a time where people can't go to shows and people are starving to have some kind of entertainment, it's really perfect. I mean, it's not. In a way, it was something we planned because we wanted to release this in between albums, which is now. But we've never would have known, that COVID would have hit. This people would be so, starved for this kind of experience. So that's really worked out really great, I think.
Yeah, and your shows are always so positive too. I've always said that, this is a joke, but I mean it as a really good compliment, is that Kamelot is happy metal for happy people. So like, I feel like a live show, representing good days, I feel like it's going to be nothing but uplifting, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's awesome. And that's something we want to do. Kind of sets us apart a little bit, like you said. I think that we want to tap into that positive thing, that there's always kind of a light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. And then there's, there's, of course, different music serves different purpose. But I think for us, that's kind of what we want to convey. So I'm happy that you see it that way.
Mm-hmm. Now, being that you came into Kamelot, like Silverthorn was your first album with the band, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So when you joined Kamelot, were you looking at like the previous records such as Ghost Opera and like kind of being like, okay, this is what I have to do? Or being that you've played with so many other bands before, did Thomas kind of like want you to bring a little bit of your own mix into Kamelot?
We talked about it, and in the beginning it was really important not to scare people off. And not to be too different, but still my own, in a way. So I had to do a lot of research when it came to like vocal melodies and lyrics and approach to music. Which I think also really grew, made me grow as a musician, because that was something that I could have totally not did that, and it might have played out differently. But I think it was good. I think it was a good thing to do the groundwork, with such an important band for, in power metal history or melodic metal history. So I feel like it all played out really well the way we did it. We did the groundwork. We decided to stay true to the Kamelot trademark as much as possible, and then later albums has been a little more experimental and a little more maybe in the vein of what I would have done naturally. So it's always a process. It's always an organic process, and I think we're in that process where we are now. I think we can continue doing the Kamelot trademark thing, but still put even more new stuff in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, as, a fan of Kamelot, I could tell what would be off of Silverthorn, or what would be off of Haven, or what would be off the Shadow Theory. So I think it's fair to say that, in the end, you were able to kind of, like, take a new approach to everything, right? It almost seems like you were able to demonstrate a lot of evolution with each record that you were on, right?
Yeah, and I think that's important, too, because a band is you can't keep writing the same album all over again, because that you're not the same band, because you grow and evolve as people. And I'm not the same person I was even 3 years ago. So that's, I think, for me, I think about an album as being a snapshot of what the band is today, and that's always, I think it's a recipe to success, because you can't be anything else than what you are in the moment.
Yeah.
And so we work on stuff that we like today, not what we liked 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people were thinking, because in 2022 it would be like the 10-year anniversary of Silverthorn, that maybe you would do like a full play that album in full to maybe celebrate your time with Kamelot.
Well, we haven't thought about that, but that might be a good idea. So thank you for that idea.
Yeah. I remember Angel of Afterlife was the first song that I heard, like when that album came out, and I remember being like, oh my God, this was magical. So it would be good. It would be a good idea.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm really happy with the first album, Silverthorn. I think we really kind of outdid ourselves on that album in terms of making sure the Kamelot trademark sound was there, which was kind of like crazy because there was not a lot of time to do that. But yeah, that's really cool to hear them.
Yeah. Now, being that you are a very prolific artist, playing with Camelot and, obviously your work with Arion and so many other bands, is there like a do you have to like change mind frames or is it like a different game altogether playing with different projects, or is there maybe like a usual method behind the madness that applies to everything?
It's, I think it's very, like the way I approach it is similar, but there's such different projects, so I always have to kind of reset and do something new. For example, like there was a time when we released a new Seventh Wonder album and the Kamelot album, and I had to go between those two bands and play live, for example. Like I had to have the whole repertoire of Seventh Wonder and Kamelot at the same time in my head, and I was surprised that the vocal work I had to do for example, Seventh Wonder, to be able to sing those stuff live, was not translating over to the Kamelot live experience. So it was two different muscles singing for the two different bands. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like crazy for me because it's just like I have to practice. That was a realization. I have to practice the exact thing I have to perform for it to become second nature.
Yeah, and does maybe working with one project influence another one in a way, or do you try to keep them like separate entities because maybe they're like different sides of who you personally are?
Yeah, they're totally different sides. I mean, there's Kamelot, which is more mysterious, dark, brooding, romantic part, which I have to find in a different part of my brain, in my soul, than doing Seventh Wonder stuff, which is maybe a little more playful, uplifting, major sounding, which is a different part.
Yeah.
So for me, and then Arion, of course, is just like full force, a lot of technical stuff. So high pitched, almost harsh vocals. It's different. It's very different, and I'm happy I'm able to do all of it. But sometimes it presents a big challenge, because they're so different, and I have to do them at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, too, on just how much a key can alter the whole thing. Somebody once put up a video of Metallica's Nothing Else Matters in a major key, and they called it Everything Matters, and it just, like, it sounds like a completely different song.
Totally. And when you say key, for me, like, key is key, if you know what I mean. Like, key is, sometimes modulating up half a step or two half steps, or down one half step, it makes the sound so much different. Like even if the same exact song with no alterations, it just sounds like a different song, and it has a different vibe and a different energy. I think that's important too, like play around with keys and make sure that it has the right vibe, because every key has a color in a way.
Yeah. Do you have synesthesia? Do you see colors when you hear certain notes?
Totally.
Yeah, it's incredible, and like, it's really funny too, because I feel like, not to discredit guitar players or drummers, but like, I feel like with singing, it's the hardest thing because everybody has their own voice, and that means, and they're gonna sing a melody or a key differently as well. There's soprano, there's alto, there's baritone. Like, it just amazes me on how many different options that singing is incorporated with, and there's no technology that could fix it when you're playing it live.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. The voice is amazing. Like the way it also carries emotion. Someone can, like you said, someone can sing one note and it sounds one way, and someone sings the same note in the same key, but it sounds completely different because of the textures of the voice and the emotion behind it. Or yeah, it's that's something I have to learn also from being a perfectionist. Is that sometimes perfect, perfect doesn't exist first of all, foremost, but but sometimes the perfect thing is the imperfect thing. Like the thing that makes it interesting to listen to is not the perfect note. It's the note that squeaks a little bit or cracks or there's because there's an intention or there's an unintentional in there, which makes the whole thing magical. And that was not my approach in the beginning. My approach was there should be nothing to complain about, but it's actually the things that you would think as an imperfection that makes it perfect.
Definitely. Now, obviously, we talked a lot about the voice, but then there's also lyrics. Is there ever a time where maybe lyrics or a subject matter could determine the music itself and the melody that you sing, or do you need music and a melody before lyrics are even thought of?
The usual way I'm approaching it is to work on melodies and then work on lyrics once I have the melodies. But sometimes it's the opposite way, because then you have a key phrase in a certain place of a song that just comes to you naturally, and then you build around that. So it's really not easy to say what comes first, but so it's I love that process. When you just get a feeling this is supposed to be here, and then you build around it. That's usually how it kind of works out for me too.
Have you ever had the best lyrics ever, and then they're always like one syllable over or under the actual arrangement? That's got to be so heartbreaking, right?
Totally. It happens all the time. I always have the best lyrics ever, and then I have to change it.
Oh, God. So, like, when we hear, like, a classic song, I just only imagine, like, how much, like, you had to alter it now.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, I remember when sometimes it just falls into place. And that's like just clicks into place, and that's an amazing feeling, and it's so quick. But sometimes you have to wrestle with it, like for a while before it turns into it tastes like you want. So I remember one song from the Shadow Theory, Phantom Divine, which is the opening song. We almost put that song aside because I couldn't find a melody that I loved.
Oh my God.
I could not find it, and I could not find lyrics. So that was I think one of the last songs to come together, because I was just like wrestling with that song for 2 weeks, and then it suddenly just clicked. One thing clicks, and then next thing clicks, and so yeah, I'm really happy I didn't give up on it.
Yeah, I think I speak for every Kamelot fan when we're all very happy you didn't give up that song either.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and being that Lauren Hart also collaborated with that one, that also had to have helped maybe shape it a little bit more, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is is a different color. To have a female voice, and then her growls are powerful. So, just it's been a perfect opening song for this tour cycle. Just bringing everything full on into people's faces right away every night.
Definitely. And there was another question I wanted to ask you about the live presence, because I've been having this discussion with more artists I've been interviewing, because, when you're playing live, obviously there's a lot of energy and there's a lot of atmosphere and interaction, but is there anything, because you're taking the material that we hear on the album and just replicating it in a live setting, is there anything creative that comes out of playing live?
Oh, I would say you get you get a lot of new ideas for stuff you want to do in the studio when you play live, because there's it's just a weird thing. Playing live is very much just an energy thing. You get a lot of stuff, even if something is not sounding great in a studio setting. If you put it live, it just translates so much better in many cases, and you have a better idea of what you actually did, because in the studio, you're just in a very confined space, and you're not around people that feed off that energy. So it's hard to say sometimes if it's going to work live or not. But then if you play live and you feel right away, it's like, holy smokes, this just kills live, because of the energy that's there that you couldn't find in the studio.
Yeah, there's some songs that are like meant to be played live, and then there are some songs that like are really good for the album itself, but like maybe it could be, for lack of better words, kind of like the Buzzkill live or something like that.
Right, exactly.
Yep. And I have one more question for you. You ready for the most difficult question of the whole interview?
Shoot.
How do you know when a song is done?
Oh my god. I sucked at that up until a few years ago. Like I never stopped working on it. But it's also something that I've learned throughout the years to just call it a day. Like this is good. Everything. Most of all, it's when everything you do makes it worse.
That's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah, like everything you add to it or you try to change just makes it worse, then I would say either step away from it for a week or call it a day.
Yeah, that's, I think, some of the biggest weaknesses for artists in a way, whether you're a musician or a painter, like knowing when to put something down and to come back to it later.
Yeah, I was really bad at, as I said, I was working until all my energy was just totally drained, and then I think that's not the way to do it. I think creativity comes in spurts, and like working 1.5, 2 hours on something, putting it down, doing something else, coming back to it, maybe the same day, but that way you're always fresh, and you're always in that initial phase of like, okay, that sounds good, like I do that. But when you hear it 500 times, you there's no way of telling if it's good or not anymore.
Yeah. Well, do you find it maybe like the longer you're working on something, and I don't know if this is even like a priority for Kamelot, but like, do you almost find like maybe like the longer you're working on something, the harder it is to kind of capture a moment or an emotional spark, if you will?
Totally. And if I remember a couple of times when it was also a hard lesson that if you want to make a demo, make sure you have the right lyrics, because the demo 99% out of 100 or times out of 100, the demo thing will have captured something that you will never be able to recreate. So if you sing the demos, to all of you guys out there that are musicians, if you do a demo of something, make sure you have the right lyric, because that way you can always keep it in case you can't redo it.
Definitely. And aren't you also worried too, the stuff that you never touch again or never leave on the record could be a B-side one day, just be the biggest hit you guys ever had?
Yeah, it's interesting because we're in metal, so there's no such thing as a hit, but at least not the way like we're thinking about hits from the 80s, or it's not that. It's more of a complete experience. We want to, if you have a hit, that's great, but it's more of a complete experience, like listening to one album from start to finish. That's kind of what we're aiming for still here.
Absolutely. And it's funny too, because I feel like your albums, and I mean this as a compliment too, and I use this term, I don't call Kamelot's albums shuffle friendly. You know what I mean? You have to start with song one and end with the last song, in order to get the full experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. We put a lot of time into that too.
Yeah.
To just think, what's the best cadence for this album, and what do you want as a listener. You have to have ups and downs, and intensity and softness, and it has to come in a natural flow, and that's also where we are in the process right now.
Awesome. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Really great to talk to you. Just, is there anything else? The live album is scheduled to come out August 14th. Is there just anything with Kamelot you'd like to promote? Like, when could we maybe be expecting a new Kamelot record? If you're allowed to say, of course.
Yeah, we don't know now because of the Corona stuff, but probably sometime next year. So we have a new album to tour with. Would be awesome. That's our goal. But other than that, I just want to encourage all of you to pick up the live DVD if you want to have some new, fresh music and positive live vibes in this crazy COVID times.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tommy. Everybody, we are here with Tommy of Kamelot. Be sure to pick up the new live DVD, I Am the Empire, live from the 013 in the Netherlands, out August 14th via our friends at Napalm Records. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We will see you next time.